This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. How you doing, baby? You doing good?
Tired, but we'll soldier through it.
You tired? What happened? You did a lot of Pro Bowl work or something?
No, I did an NHL All-Star game work this weekend, but
that's right. You do your work for NHL.com, correct? Right?
Correct. And it was at FLA Live Arena this year or so.
You know what? Tkachuk getting the MVP. It's fantastic. He's carried his weight. He has done his job this year. I can't say that about everybody else, overall. But he has, we see Kyle Lowry on one side with the Miami Heat, and then we look at Tkachuk, and, one guy justifies the salary and the trade, and the other guy, it's just an absolute insult to everybody. And so that's the one thing, I'm not big on these all-star games. None of this stuff really means anything to me. NFL, NHL, baseball is the only one that I watch, like the game itself. All this other stuff is just, crap. Although I got to admit, the skills competition in hockey is kind of fun. I kind of enjoy it a little bit. You don't enjoy the skills competition? No?
It was okay. I mean, they try to get funky. There are some that are very cool. Like, for example, as
a Canadian, you probably take it for granted. But as an American, I marvel at what they can do with the stick and the puck and how they can control the bitch so well. And I wish people would actually, go out and go take a few swings with a puck and a stick so you can see how difficult it is what these guys do. That's, to me, what I marvel at, is the way they're able to manage all of that. It's awesome.
No, like you said, as somebody who was born and raised in Canada and played hockey, my whole life. So it's the novelty aspect of it is maybe different, but no, like you said, the thing is, what makes the sports of, like, for example, basketball, hockey, and football, when it's played at its best, its intensity and its physicality, good defense as well. Whereas, and you can't. There's no way you can ask these guys for an all-star game to put up that way. You can't. Right. And then baseball, because of the nature of the game, lends itself to an all-star game.
Yes, definitely. It's the only legit all-star game that we really have. But I'm glad for the Panthers organization that they were able to host it. I think it's a great thing to have, down here and in the beach and all that stuff. I thought that was a really cool look for them. Now let's see if they can actually get into the playoffs. They got the Lightning tonight, and what is it? They're 54 points in the 11th spot. Pittsburgh's got 57 right now. Plus, they've got a leap over two teams. But hey, at least we're back to regular Panther seasons now, where you kind of dig yourself in a hole, and now you got to climb out of that hole to get into the playoffs. This is what last year we weren't used to that. No, we're not used to scoring 100 and some odd points, and no, that was the aberration. This is normal here now.
No, absolutely. And the good news and a reason for optimism, if you're a Panther fan, is they're going to get. Finally, they're getting healthy, and they got Anthony Duclair like on the horizon for his season debut after he had big Achilles injury in the offseason. So once they put their full team out there, if the goaltending can get a little bit more consistent, there's no reason that they can't make a run. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but they absolutely could make a run and give it a hell of a shot at the very least.
Well, let's see. All right, your thoughts on did you watch anything on the Pro Bowl? I doubt it, right? Because you were working the whole time.
I wasn't working yesterday. I caught snippets on social media, and I saw like Jalen Ramsey level Tyreek Hill at the end of that touchdown play. I can, and I'm told from everything I've read and seen that this new format actually was more fun for a lot of people. But again, I
looked at flag football. I saw it, and I think I watched 60 seconds of it. Yeah, I can't watch flag football at any level. I don't care what it is, dude. High school, college, NFL. I don't want to watch flag football, dude. That has nothing to do. That's a sorority sport. that's the way I look at it, dude.
No, and then you look at some of those skills competitions they had. I mean, they're playing dodgeball. I mean, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. That's fun and all that.
Dude,
and
Saquon got hit right in the face.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yes. And they're debating whether that should have counted, whether that should have been an automatic disqualification. No, it's just, to me, the idea of I don't mind the idea. I was almost thinking about this morning of like maybe there's a way, like for example, they do the NFL awards show on the Thursday before the Super Bowl, like this Thursday. Why wouldn't they just fly out the finalists or whatever and combine the whole thing into like a all-star celebration and announce the awards at that show? And I understand this is more television product if you have the Pro Bowl games plus the NFL awards show. But I don't know. Hey, I didn't see what the ratings were.
Oh, I don't know what they were.
My guess, it probably would do. Actually, didn't do that poorly because everybody, even in years,
we eat football up like it's apple pie.
Last few years, I mean, literally, the Pro Bowl game was an absolute joke, and it still did very, very well in the ratings. It's just
Yeah, because we're so. Do you know how many you have to get them too? I mean, I probably get them more because I relate more to fans than the average media member. But I get so many people I'm jonesing already for Dolphins football. I can't wait for the season. I can't wait for. Oh, you do get it, okay? So because I get it a lot, like every day, I get a couple of people like, man, I already missed Dolphins football and all that. And I get it because they can, come to this platform and always talk it. But it's a drug, dude. It's a drug for this country, man. It really is kind of crazy. Speaking of Saquon, I'm not going to get deep into free agency. I don't like to do that because people ask me, and I'm saying first I need to know who's available, who's not, who's going to get tagged, who's going to get released. We really don't know. So there's a bunch of shit talking out there. That's all it is right now. But the guy, the aforementioned Saquon Barkley, that's not their MO.
No,
they don't sign big free agent running backs. They don't draft big high picks in the running back spot. So, some people will tell you, oh, they got to go out, and then they do have cap issues. Like they have to trim some stuff in order to accommodate some stuff. I don't see them ever going in that direction at all. I can see one of their third rounders, and that's a high pick for them.
Correct.
Right? Was Kenyon Drake a fourth rounder?
Kenyon Drake was a third rounder, and it's the last time
third rounder.
That high. Yeah.
Okay, so third round, and I'm gonna figure that was more of a Greer pick because of the Alabama connection, because there seems to be a tendency of going in that direction.
You think?
Some other guys like the tight end that never plays, I tie him to Flo. You know what I mean? I'm not exactly sure about that, but it's just I'm going to go with track record before and after, and it's kind of those SEC types. They love those SEC types. And by the way, I think Reggie did too when he was in Oakland. He also used up some picks in that direction too. So where do you see them going at running back? Do you see the same two guys coming back?
I do see the same two guys coming back. Let's remember, each of them had a 100-yard game. Mostert was fantastic in the Saturday night game at Buffalo. Wilson had a monster game against Cleveland. There was nothing wrong with the running game other than the fact that it just didn't really stick to it that much. It wasn't always good. And then the Dolphins had major problems on 3rd and 1 the whole season. Well, they threw the ball a whole lot on 3rd and 1. So maybe they didn't give the running game a chance. And how much of that was on those 3rd and short failures in the running game? How much of that was the offensive line? How much of that was the running backs? Because I seem to notice an awful lot of broken tackles created by the running backs in 2022, which I didn't see in 2021. I mean, Raheem Mostert, for example, like in the last game against the Jets, it was like, no, you're not tackling me. I'm not going down. He was running through three guys. And Raheem Mostert's not supposed to be a quote-unquote physical back. That's Jeff Wilson's style.
But dude, I was very impressed that he ran hard, man.
It was great.
Excellent.
I would put at more than 50-50 the Dolphins bring back both Mostert and Wilson, because I don't think they're going to break the bank outside, and the Dolphins have to get running backs regardless. They're both, well, relatively young. Mostert's getting maybe a little bit more up there, but he's still got some years left. Wilson's
he's got juice. He's got
juice
left.
Yeah, they both have juice, and if you don't re-sign either one of them for whatever reason, you still got to get people. So. And they're familiar with Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel obviously has an affinity for both of them, especially Mostert. So, no, this whole and another point about free agency is this whole thing of like, oh, they're going to get Saquon Barkley, they're going to get the stud cornerback, they're going to get the stud tackle and all that. Well, that's all great if you're playing Madden and there's no salary cap, but in the real world, you're not going to get everybody who happens to be a big name, and it's very easy to like, okay, connect. Position of need, big name, and there you go. No, it doesn't quite work like that. And I don't know that they're in a position to make the big splash acquisition like they did last year with Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead. I mean, last year they had a lot of space to play with, and they went for it. I don't know that they have. This year, to me, be more about maintaining the one like really big hole that's going to have to be filled. That's not going to be. It's going to be somebody they had that's going to move on that they're not going to bring back is Mike Gesicki, who's going to get. My guess he's going to get close to what he got from the franchise tag last year, and Dolphins are not paying.
For sure.
They're not paying him $10 million to be a role player. So you have to replace him. Durham Smythe, Sanoke, number 2 tight end. Hey, let's not kid ourselves. I think he's a number 1. You mentioned the aforementioned Hunter Long. Have we seen anything right now to suggest that he's your answer? No.
Nothing.
So that tight end has to. We talk about like the big needs. I hear the offensive line by a lot of people being floated around. Sure, I'll buy that to a certain degree because it's still not great. But I think the Dolphins very well might look at last year and go, well, Austin Jackson, who we really liked in training camp and all that, never got a shot because of the ankle injury. Dolphin coaches kept telling you about how well Liam Eichenberg was playing. At the time,
I didn't see that one as much.
I didn't see that. No, I didn't see that one.
Although, brother, the people in the building will swear by it.
Correct.
Will swear by. They will like go up and down. Tell you, no, the last 2 weeks the light was coming on.
Correct.
We were really excited. This, that. At least with Austin Jackson, I was legitimately seeing some improvement in training camp in the preseason, and he's never been injury prone. But you know, anybody that's followed sports like you and I, high ankle sprains can be a bitch to overcome at times. And when you're that big and you've got to move around like you have on that line, I can see where you're going to re-injure it if you don't, if it's not 100%, but it takes forever to get 100% from a high ankle sprain. Cause I've had them, man. Those things are brutal.
No question about it. I mean, yeah. So no, I think this notion of like, expect like a major overhaul. I mean, it wasn't a great offensive line in 2022, but it wasn't terrible.
It was improved.
It was improved, and it was certainly good enough for the Dolphins to have those really big offensive outings that they had in the middle of the season. And it wasn't necessarily the reason why everything went south in December. So I don't buy this notion that an offensive lineman is necessarily in the cards to me. I think if you're looking strictly at offense, because I do think they're going to maintain the status quo running back, I think tight ends is screaming for an upgrade.
Applebaum gets released, comes from college, wasn't able to stick around. Your thoughts on that, and what direction do you think McDaniel will go in now?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit on Thursday. Timing is interesting, especially since they had fired 4 coaches 2 weeks earlier. And I mentioned earlier, like playing conspiracy theory and the timing of it, that the news of Applebaum being fired came on the same day of the report that Vic Fangio indeed is going to go to the Dolphins. And Vic Fangio had this connection with Mike Munchak, who he had as his O-line coach in Denver for 3 years. Now, somebody brought up to me the fact, and I was aware of this, that he left the Steelers to join Vic Fangio in 2019. It was in large part to be closer to his family. He's got like a son or daughter in Denver with a grandchild in Denver, and he wanted to be close to his family. That's a big part. Well, now that worked for 3 years. And when the Broncos made the coaching change to Nathaniel Hackett in 2022, he did not keep Mike Munchak, which was certainly his prerogative. Now he's been out of the league for a year. And the question is, If he's going to be like now he doesn't have the option.
I'm going to get sexually aroused if they can get Mike Munchak. Munchak would be a freaking dude. I'm not kidding, bro.
That would be
a great signing. Great signing.
But the only question now with Munchak is, again, and I haven't seen it that or anywhere, and I haven't spoken to the guy, so I don't know. But was his desire to be close with his family strong enough to where now he's okay with not coaching anymore, or does he want to get back in the game? And if he wants to get back in the game, well, that connection with Vic Fangio is there, and the Dolphins now coincidentally have an opening for an offensive line coach. Seemed like a pretty good fit to me.
I'm with you, man. That would be an awesome move if they're able to get him. Any other name? Because I know you gave us Munchak last week. Any other name you see, just out of curiosity?
I saw one other name thrown out there, and then it escapes me right now. Coach with the Saints through, I believe, with Sean Payton through his last year in 2021. That neighborhood, but I haven't researched it, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay. They are down to 3 candidates in Arizona: Kafka, Anarumo, and Flores.
Dolphin flavor here.
So, yeah.
I know who your pick would be. Come on, you know, would go with Flo. You know, you'd go with Flo. Be honest.
No. For the train wreck of it, yes, I would. I mean, the guy that can't build an offensive staff.
The guy who was 10-6, 9-8 in his last 2 years with the Dolphins, that guy, yeah.
That's fine, but he still can't build an offensive staff. So
and
that's
still 10-6, 9-8.
To turn Kyler Murray, I think they go Kafka. Just because they have $200 million invested in the kid, they have to try to save that. And if you bring a defensive mind, especially Flores, wow, that's oil and water right there. You know, I can't wait to see Murray come off the field ripping into Flores. Yeah, Flores is really going to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So, Anarumo also is kind of interesting, but I kind of think they'll go Kafka only because they've got to try to save their investment. Seriously.
Yeah,
I mean, for the train wreck, of course, I want Flores to get the job because I just want Arizona, everything. Oh, God, this would be so beautiful. It's entertaining. But if I'm being objective, I'm going to go Kafka.
Well, and here's the thing that's interesting with Flo even being a candidate. If we know Flo like we know Flo, do we really think that he's going to be crazy about the idea of working with a quarterback whose reputation is that maybe not the hardest worker and not the greatest work ethic in the world? Does that really mesh with Flo's mentality? To me, that's a major no. And you make an absolutely great point because the Cardinals completely effed up last offseason in my book in giving Murray that long-term contract. I was never a huge fan of his. And now they're stuck with him. So that's your quarterback. And you need to make it work. So, yeah, absolutely. I think Mike Kafka makes absolute sense.
Because
just like
remember, you hire Flores. You hire Flores, you're making his job harder because he can't build an offensive staff. But now he's got to find one, and he's got to find one that's willing to put their reputation on the line for Kyler Murray. So you're going to have to deal with an up-and-coming coach, not an established coach. An established offensive coordinator is not going to want to inherit this headache. So it's really a bad combination, and that's where that's why I have to go to Kafka because he is the offensive guy, and at least it starts with him and ends with him in trying to save Murray. Kind
of similar to what was going on here last offseason when the Dolphins really wanted a guy who could get the most out of Tua. And here comes Mike McDaniel.
Amen. Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect example on that. So yeah, I would go Kafka, obviously for entertainment purposes, which I love to be entertained. Yes, please hire Flores again. That would be absolutely awesome in that situation. All right, what do you got going on over at Sports Illustrated? AllDolphins.com, Miami Dolphins Nation, AllDolphins.com.
Yeah, well, I'm not attending the Super Bowl, but I'm going to keep my eye obviously open, see if anything Dolphin related comes out of that. We're going to start looking ahead to the full off season mode with free agency, the draft, the mock drafts are starting to come out now. Dolphins don't pick until 51. It's not nearly as much fun looking at the mock drafts that pop up all over the place when the Dolphins don't have a first round pick or 2 or 3 like they had in 2020. Now they got none. So it's until the second round, and you get you don't get necessarily like the big splashy names that everybody will recognize. And we're going to have something coming up soon, maybe today or tomorrow, on players who will benefit the most from the Vic Fangio system.
Well, the guy that got picked on the most this year after he got traded. That's the guy that should benefit the most. It should be Chubb in the club. All right. In Duck Club. There you go. What'd you think of Vontae, by the way?
It's I mean, what else is there to think? The whole thing this whole time in Miami was kind of disappointing because he was so gifted. We're looking at it like kind of an immature kid all along.
By the way, he's the last corner that tackles as good as Kohu.
Correct.
Now that I thought about that, because you when you started talking about how good he was, that mofo is fearless like Kohu, that he will attack, bro. He was a good tackler, man. Good tackler.
He may have been maybe the best tackling cornerback in Dolphin history. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that compares with him. I mean, he was a great tackling cornerback, and he could cover too. I mean, and then the Dolphins wound up trading him for a second and a sixth to the Colts.
Yeah,
and then shocker, he makes the Pro Bowl.
With the trade.
The rumor is true. Okay, we just traded you. Okay, we traded you to the Indianapolis Colts. All right, so you okay?
No, I'm gonna call my grandmother.
You can call your grandmother? Yeah. Okay, this hasn't hit the papers or anything like that. Okay, well, why don't we do a little business first, okay? Before you call grandma, okay? There's a little bit of urgency because you got a storm coming. They probably want to get you on a plane here pretty quickly. Okay?
Oh man! At least it was
entertaining. Does any part of you, Big O, feel bad about that thing about Vontae being exposed like that? Where if he's not there,
yeah. But we're sons of bitches in this media because we see this all the time, even if the fans don't, and yet we're constantly baiting these dudes in the locker room because we know the guys that can be baited. We know the guys that aren't very bright. So we know those are the guys that we can kind of poke and prod and get that soundbite from. So while we say one thing, some of us do something different completely in the locker room. I'm just being honest, dude.
But that was behind the scenes. And if the Dolphins are not on Hard Knocks that summer, nobody finds out about this,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the Chad Johnson.
And I like Hard Knocks as much as the next guy, with the Chad Johnson thing is you can make the argument he brought on himself. Vontae just got traded.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the reaction is his reaction,
Yeah. Yeah, and that was after, remember, he had that incident where he came. See, you're up Schitt's Creek when you get to practice and you smell like alcohol, and the guy that's trying to straighten you out is Brandon Marshall, who has as many problems or more than you do, but he's the guy trying to show leadership by hitting you over with a football over the head because you reek of alcohol in practice. You know what I'm saying? So you were up Schitt's Creek when it's Brandon Marshall trying to straighten out your life. And that's the guy that couldn't find, his house and ends up in the airport or gets stabbed by his girlfriend, wife, or whatever there was. Brandon Marshall. Yeah.
Immensely talented player who wound up playing with 8 teams in 15 years.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of baggage that came with that.
Dude, one of the years with the Dolphins, I counted it. He dropped 7 or 8 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. He dropped 2 in the Chargers game alone. I still remember that.
But he put a big number.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. But you could tell how much bigger were the numbers after you dropped 7 or 8 touchdowns. It was like one of those. He had a lot of drops that year, and it was really weird, man. Strange. All right, my brother. Appreciate you as always. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. We will catch up later in the week, my friend. Thank you.
Sounds like a plan. You'd be good.
There you go. EJD Construction, man. Call my guy Eric, Dade or Broward County, 305-433-4843. We got several of our listeners that have called now to upgrade their roofs because they've got to now re-up their policies, their insurance, their hurricane insurance policies, and then guess what happens? Oh, wait a minute, your house is a little too old. Your roof is not up to date. You got to upgrade it. And, well, you got to call EJD Construction, folks. And if you're looking to enlarge your home, if you're looking to remodel the home and gut it from inside, EJD Construction can do all of that. Custom home construction and major home remodeling. That's why you call EJD Construction. 305-433-4843.